Has Iran grown even thirstier for revenge after America broke the ceasefire during Ayatollah Khamenei's funeral? Is Mojtaba's military putting Donald Trump's Arab allies on notice as fresh fears grip the Gulf region once again? American terrorism will be answered. Is Mojtaba Khamenei preparing to avenge his father's death with a powerful response? After claims that more than 80 US assets across the Gulf were already targeted, is this only the beginning of Mojtaba's revenge campaign? Iran readies its weapons for the next phase. Donald Trump warns that another American strike could be just around the corner.
I'll give him a little warning, we're going to hit him hard tonight.
With the fragile Iran-US ceasefire hanging by a thread, Mojtaba's armed forces openly preparing for the next phase of retaliation. Iran's armed forces have now shifted their focus toward any regional governments or groups that choose to back the United States in the Middle East. A statement issued by the Khatam al-Anbiya headquarters warned that every supporter of Washington would now be regarded as a legitimate military target. The Iranian military command also reaffirmed the IRGC's iron grip over the Strait of Hormuz and its surrounding strategic waters. Iran further threatened a crushing military response if the United States launches even a single fresh round of attacks. Khatam al-Anbiya said, and I quote, "All tankers and commercial vessels are required to use the route designated by Iran for any safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Any failure to comply with or departure from the designated route, or disregard for the navigation protocols of the Islamic Republic of Iran in the Strait of Hormuz, will be met with an immediate and forceful response from the armed forces and will endanger the security of the offending vessels. Also, any attempt to interfere in security affairs or carry out disruptive actions in the Strait of Hormuz by the United States will be considered a threat to Iran's national sovereignty and will be met with a swift and decisive response. In protecting its sovereignty in the Strait of Hormuz, Iran will not hesitate to take any action necessary to crush aggression by the US military and its supporters." End quote. Meanwhile, Iran revealed the full extent of the damage caused by US Central Command strikes carried out on July 8. Iranian authorities said at least one civilian was killed while 2 others were injured during the attacks in the Khuzestan region. According to Tehran, the casualty occurred after American strikes hit Khuzestan province along with several other locations across the country. In Iran's Hormozgan province, 2 reported US strikes allegedly caused extensive damage to facilities at Sirik port. At least 4 people were reportedly injured in the American strike on Sirik, according to an IRNA report. However, US strikes reportedly failed to inflict any damage on Bandar Abbas International Airport despite repeated attacks. Bandar Abbas, home to one of Iran's most important naval bases, was reportedly targeted multiple times during the US operation. Iran's elite military forces have already begun launching retaliatory attacks against US military installations across the Gulf region. The IRGC claimed it launched retaliatory strikes on 85 US military sites in Bahrain and Kuwait on July 8. Iran accused Washington of violating the ceasefire by carrying out fresh airstrikes across southern Iran. The IRGC said the latest US attacks were deliberately timed to overshadow Ali Khamenei's state funeral. Iran also claimed its forces shot down what it described as an American MQ-9 Reaper drone during the latest exchange. IRGC statement read, and I quote, "Following the epic of the great Iranian nation in the unprecedented and glorious funeral of the enemy-busting and unique era and martyred leader of the Islamic nation, the aggressive US regime, whose dimensions of its defeat are becoming more apparent day by day, and considers the global reflection of the huge and millions of proud Iraqi people in the wake of the history-making martyred Mujahideen leader as a greater defeat for itself, once again repeated its habit of breaking the agreement and terrified to overshadow this historical event, the child-killing and terrorist US Army in the early hours of this morning openly violated the ceasefire and violated the Islamabad understanding by launching an airstrike on a number of coastal bases and civilian stations on the coasts of Hormozgan and Mahajah provinces. In the initial response to this aggression, the naval and aerospace forces of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, through joint missile and drone operations, destroyed 85 important US military installations in Port Salman, Bahrain's 5th naval area, and Kuwait's Ali Salem Air Base, and shot down an enemy MQ-9 drone that was trying to interfere in the operation. Victory is only from Allah, the Almighty, the Wise, unquote. The IRGC said the enormous turnout at Khamenei's funeral reflected what it described as America's strategic defeat in the region. The IRGC spokesman claimed Iranian air defenses shot down a US MQ-9 Reaper drone over Bushehr province. Iran said the drone was destroyed after what it described as a fresh wave of American military aggression. The claims came as Washington warned Tehran that any further attacks on US forces would carry serious consequences. US Central Command said on July 8 that American forces carried out precision strikes against more than 80 targets across Iran. According to CENTCOM, the operation followed Iran's recent attacks on commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. The US military released details of the operation in an official statement issued on July 8. CENTCOM said more than 60 Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps fast attack boats were destroyed in and around the Strait of Hormuz. Washington accused Iran of violating the ceasefire and undermining freedom of navigation through one of the world's busiest maritime corridors. CENTCOM warned that US forces remain fully prepared to hold Iran accountable if attacks continue. US Central Command statement read, and I quote, US Central Command, CENTCOM, forces completed a new round of offensive strikes against Iran, July 7th, hitting over 80 targets with precision munitions as an immediate response to Iran's latest attacks on commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. US forces struck Iranian air defense systems, command and control networks, coastal radar sites, anti-ship missile capabilities, and more than 60 Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps small boats in and near the strait to degrade Iran's ability to continue attacking international commerce flowing through the international trade corridor. Iran recently attacked 3 commercial vessels transiting the strait, including Marshall Islands flagged MT El-Rikayat, Saudi Arabia flagged MT Wedyang, and Liberian flagged MT Cyprus Prosperity. The unwarranted aggression by Iranian forces is a clear and dangerous violation of the ceasefire and undermines freedom of navigation. CENTCOM forces remain postured and prepared to hold Iran accountable when the agreement is not adhered to or obeyed. Unquote. A senior US official said the latest strikes were intended as punishment rather than a proportional military response. The official told CNN that the military campaign against Iran is expected to continue for some time. Washington said the objective is to impose a heavy cost on Tehran for targeting international commercial shipping. US officials also warned that additional military action remains on the table if Iran chooses to escalate the conflict again. Just hours after ordering the strikes, Donald Trump defended the military operation by claiming Iran had violated the Memorandum of Understanding.
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal. And he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
Talks won't resume after we get through the funeral proceedings. Does this mean that talks with Iran will not resume?
I don't care. They can talk, but I think they're wasting their time. They're a bunch of lying guys. I do my whole life. That's all I do is deals. My whole life is that's how I became president. I guess that's a deal too, right? But I made a lot of money. I had a lot of great success, tremendous success. Everything I did, I was successful. And I deal with these guys, and I say this is from a different school. They're liars. They're cheats. They're sick people. They've hurt their people. They killed 54,000 people as of now that were protesting. You know, when people say, how come they haven't taken over? They can't take over because they're dead. They killed them. Nobody's going to take over. They have no guns, and the other side has machine guns. And they're killing them. The press doesn't report it. But they're bad people. They're bad people. And frankly, I don't want to waste my time with them. Now, I'll let our wonderful negotiators keep talking if they want, but I don't see it. I don't like these people, you know that? I like him, I like the leaders, I think all of these leaders.
Great. And they love him.
I think they didn't treat the United States fairly for many years, but that's okay. But they're sane, rational, good people. Most of them. I don't like a couple of them, to be honest with you. But there are a couple I don't like much.
But hey,
I mean, just so they understand, Greenland is very important for the United States, but it's not important for Denmark. In fact, when Denmark was overrun by the Nazis in less than one day, Hitler beat them out in one day, took over. They asked us to take care of Greenland. In fact, we took Greenland, and then stupidly we gave it back. We shouldn't have given it back to them because we're the ones that need it. We need it for protection of the world, not just the United States. And it's very important. It doesn't help Denmark, but it helps us. And it's very important for us. And again, they were defeated very quickly. Denmark was beaten in one day, less than one day, by the Nazis, by Hitler. And when this happened, they immediately switched it over to us. We owned it. We had it. We were taking care of it, and then we gave it back, which is, I don't know why. I wouldn't have given the Panama Canal back either, so what do I know? I certainly wouldn't have done that because China's trying to take over the Panama Canal, and that's not going to happen. So, but I just, it's interesting. I'm very unhappy with NATO, and yet this man is a great leader, and he gets it. He gets it maybe better than some of the leaders.
After officially abandoning the ceasefire, Donald Trump declared on July 8th that the United States was fully prepared to strike Iran once again if necessary.
Well, I just think they are behaving very badly, as they have for 47 years. And, we hit them hard last night after they launched a couple of, you don't have to know about this, you got stuff on your mind, but they launched a couple of drones and one rocket, one missile, and at ships, because they were in the Strait, which they have every right to be. And so we hit them very hard last night, very, very hard. Probably hit them hard again tonight. I'll give them a little warning, we're going to hit them hard tonight. But we'll see how it all works out. No, I'm not happy with them. It's like, for instance, we'll have a meeting and we'll talk about the denuclearization of Iran, because that's what the war is. It's not a war, it's really the denuclearization of Iran. And we'll have a meeting and we'll talk about just that. That's because my whole thing is not about regime change. It's not about, although I think it's regime change when you knock out the first group, the second group, and now you're in the third. I think that's maybe the ultimate regime change. But that's not what it's about. It's about, we don't want them to have nuclear weapons. And it's denuking or denuclearization. And I think we've made a lot of progress. And they'll get out of the room. We'll talk about it like we're here. They'll agree on everything, and then they'll go and have a news conference and say, we never even talked about it. They're cuckoo. There's something wrong with these people.